welcome to the fourth race of the DTM season 2014. We're here at the Norisring, or as they call it, the German Monaco, our city circuit of 2.3 kilometers. And you can see it's terrible weather, but we've got full house despite the weather. And with me now is Mr. Norisring, Jamie Green. Jamie, you're starting in P3 and you've won here 4 times already. What are the chances, especially with this weather, that you're going to get your 5th victory today?
Probably 50-50, I guess. I think obviously I'm capable of doing it here in both conditions. I think the RS5 is capable in both conditions as well from what we've seen so far this year. But now it's raining really heavily, so it could be an interesting afternoon.
I think it will be really interesting. Well, best of luck for you. And Jamie took us on a lap here at the Norisring.
Hello, I'm Jamie Green, and now we're going to take a look at the Norisring.
And though I try to hide, my smile gets wider every day.
So here we go, starting the lap, shifting up to 6th gear, heading towards turn 1, really high speed, braking hard, down to 1st gear, very tight corner. And try not to get too close to the concrete wall on the exit. I found out that it's not too forgiving last year. And then 2nd gear chicane, try to be close to the wall. It's off camber on the exit, so you always have some oversteer coming out of the chicane. Now heading up to the last corner, it's very bumpy and you go over the crest, so the car's always unstable on the brakes. 1st gear again, and then heading out through the final kink, and the lap goes pretty quick in Norisring, so that's 1 lap done.
Marco Wittmann, fantastic that you're taking the time for the little interview. You live around here, just 10 minutes away from here. If somebody would have asked you just before the season started that perhaps at this point you would already be leading the pack, would you have believed them?
No, for sure not. I mean, for me it's nearly a dream to come to my home race with a championship lead and with 2 victories already. I never expected this before the season. My target was to score a win at least in the season, but now to come with 2 wins to the home race, it's just unbelievable.
The season really is working out well for you, 2 victories already. But does that also mean pressure for you, or are you pretty cool?
No, at the end it's not really pressure for me, because I would say I do on my own or myself the most pressure. So from outside I feel nothing. I just go race by race, so I'm pretty relaxed.
And Norisring is a very short track, it's a high speed course, and also you have a lot of chances of overtaking. But what are you expecting for the race? What's the most crucial, and does DRS perhaps also play a vital role?
Definitely, it's quite important DRS in the race today, especially with a chance to overtake after the long straight. There will be a lot of action, I think, on track, and yeah, even if it's raining and if we have a wet race and we are not allowed to use DRS, I think there will be a lot of action on track.
All right, well, best of luck for the race. Thank you very much.
So great to hear from Marco Wittmann. Let's explain then, as you see the tyre symbols there, of course, with the wet weather, every driver will be out on wet weather tyres too. Start with Wickens de Resta, front row, then Jamie Green and Pascal Wehrlein. Then we see Gary Paffett and Christian Vittoris on the next row of the grid. Marco Wittmann, the man we just heard from, is P7 with Adrian Tombe alongside in P8. Then we see Nico Muller, P9, and Maxime Martin, P10 on the grid for this race here at Norisring. The champion, Mike Rockefeller, is P11, and Matthias Ekstrom, a 5th-place grid penalty for impeding Pascal Wehrlein. Timo Glock is P13, and Joey Hand is P14. Then we see Augusto Farfus and Bruno Spengler. As we continue our roll through the grid, it's Daniel Juncadella and Miguel Molina, P17 and 18. Martin Tomczyk and Edo Mortara then on the next row of the grid. Then we see Timo Scheider and Antonio Felix da Costa. Vitaly Petrov brings up the rear, P23, as Verena Wright has Robert Wickens right now.
Yes, Robert starting, of course, in the perfect position, in pole position. Now, yesterday was a fantastic qualifying for you, but completely different weather conditions. However, we just heard that the start is actually after the safety car. So is that for you a pretty good feeling?
I think it's the best situation. I mean, you know, on the formation laps and the laps to the grid, it was very, very bad. So, you know, it's definitely, you know, DMSB did the right call starting it under safety car, and because, yeah, there's a lot of standing water on the track at the moment, and I think for the safety, it's the best thing.
You seem very calm and very confident.
I'm a Canadian, so generally, yeah, pretty relaxed. But, yeah, you know, excited for the race, and hopefully I can keep it in first.
Well, best of luck, Robert. We love Canadians. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Farina. Well, Robert Wickens does look cool, calm and collected. Of course, he did all the hard work, didn't he? And he's put himself on pole position. Torrential rain just before the cars went out to the grid. It's kind of eased off now, but so much standing water around. Alongside me is Chris Hartley, and everyone yesterday was talking about the weather conditions that would be very changeable for today, and I think changeable is the right word.
Yeah, they all knew this was coming. The rain's not a surprise. In fact, just about 2 minutes after qualifying finished yesterday, it started to rain. Not as heavy as this, but so everything that they've been doing up till this point almost got out of the window. There's Nico Müller, one of the rookies this season, who had a very good qualifying session. Just missed out getting through to the final part of qualifying, the top 8 shootout. But the Audi Sport Team Rosberg driver starts this from 9th place, promoted up to 9th after Matthias Ekstrom, as you said during the grid, who qualified 7th, was given a 5 grid place penalty as a result of, on his in-lap, getting in the way of Pascal Wehrlein, who had his tremendous qualifying session to get 4th place anyway, Wehrlein, the youngster. And there's somebody else that's been going well this season, Adrien Tombe, the French driver, who is 5th in the standings now, having had a podium and a 5th out of the 3 races so far.
So the hands shake there. And there is Bruno Spengler, always fascinating to watch. Bruno Spengler in the final moments of his race preparation is just getting belted up there in that BMW Bank all black BMW car. So Bruno Spengler, well, wasn't a brilliant qualifying for him by any means down there, P16. We heard from him a little while ago, Marco Wittmann, who goes into this race at the top of the points chart on 50 points. He's had a stellar start to the season, has Marco Wittmann. And, well, in these changeable weather conditions, is starting from P7. Anything can happen, Chris.
Yeah, the BMW's not that strong in qualifying, but they were carrying success ballast, which has been introduced this season, and they've been a successful team so far this year. So they were carrying extra weight, which really hurts you around here in the dry, because this circuit is all about braking hard and accelerating hard out of corners, out of hairpins, namely, because half the corners here, there are only 4 of them, are tight hairpins. But in the wet conditions, I don't think that weight is going to be any sort of issue at all for BMW, so they'll be pleased about this. In fact, it's an argument to say a slightly heavier car, slightly more stable in the wet conditions. But having a dreadful qualifying so far this year, Mercedes filled 5 of the top 6 places. Robert Wickens, who got the pole here last year, getting his 2nd pole position.
So Robert Wickens then, as we can see, final preparations for him before he jumps into the car. Norisring, DTM. Well, the torrential rain we had just before the cars made it onto the grid. What we have seen here at the Norisring, Chris Hartley, is that the track dries very, very quickly, doesn't it? Offline, there's always going to be standing water. Something else we should consider here at the Norisring is the changeable, the track is very bumpy, and there is a change in surface as well. There's some tarmac, there's some concrete where you run onto, these are all public roads, and there's lots and lots and lots of painted lines.
Yeah, public roads, which change every year as well, as the road is repaired and patched up, as most normal public roads are. So it's different every time they come back here. It's only used for this one weekend every year. There is Gary Paffett, who has had a difficult start to the season. Farina has caught up with one of the special guests here this weekend, who's Felipe Massa, off the back of his tremendous start to the season with Williams.
Yes, indeed. I'm here with Felipe Massa and with Toto Wolff. And Toto, first of all, yesterday we saw perfect qualifying, the return of the Mercedes star. However, for the race today, the weather conditions are completely different. Would you have preferred perhaps different conditions, a little bit more dry, so perhaps we're not going to see such an exciting race?
Yeah, of course. We have been qualifying very well yesterday in the dry, so we would have preferred dry weather. But I think for DTM it's very exciting to race in Norisring under these conditions. Very difficult for everybody. I think we should still have a little bit of an advantage starting in the front row, starting in the front. But then you never know. Maybe the others had a full wet setup. So it's exciting race.
Looking forward to that. Thank you. And Felipe, it's wonderful to have you here at the DTM. You had a little ride here on the track today, but with Susie, with his wife. So don't say anything wrong. How was your experience?
It was great. Susie was teaching me how to drive a DTM car in the very difficult condition, very slippery. The first lap was a little bit difficult because I don't know the track, so I didn't know where to brake and not to brake. So we had some sliding, around, but it was fantastic. It was a good feeling, and it's great to be here. So it's an incredible atmosphere. I hope we can see a very nice race as well.
I'm pretty sure we will, and hope we'll see you here more often at the DTM. Thank you very much. Enjoy the race, and back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Verena, with Toto Wolff and Felipe Massa. And Susie Wolff taking Felipe Massa for a high-speed lap around the Norisring, and then they swapped seats, so that would have been enjoyable. Well, what's it going to be for this man? Certainly smiling getting into the car, wasn't he, Robert Wickens? Brilliant job in qualifying yesterday, and we get the thumbs up from him. And well, going to be interesting to see how this race unfolds. Mercedes extremely strong in qualifying. Will they be as strong in the race?
That's confirmation of the points going into this. Marco Wittmann has had 2 wins out of 3. In between the 2 wins at Hockenheim in the opening round and the Hungaroring round 3. He had a 19th place finish after clutch problems at Oschersleben, but he leads the standings by 19 points from the defending champion. With Edo Mortara, who's struggled in qualifying, as has actually Miguel Molina. Those two, 3rd and 4th in the championship, have got to come from a long way down the grid in this race.
Packed audience here to enjoy the DTM weekend at the Norisring. Is one of the most exciting venues, as we see Toto Wolff and Oliver Kapfenstein there making their way down the pit lane there, and that's good to see. Mercedes boss and BMW boss Jens Marquardt there having a conversation, and lots of laughter. Just to remind you, everyone will be starting on the blue rain tyres, as we explained during the grid presentation that we had on screen for you. Tyre choice, well, there was no tyre choice in the end, was there? Because, of course, we are starting in full wet weather conditions, so everyone's starting on the blue wet weather tyres. And just looking at the weather conditions now, a lot of standing water on the track. The race is going to start behind the safety car, but again, and I'm labouring this point a little bit, but you and I have seen just how quickly this can change.
Exactly right, yeah. And what they'll also have to keep an eye on as they go out on these safety car laps is where the standing water is gathered, because there hasn't really been any track action for a couple of hours, bar some demonstration runs. So that standing water will have built up, and it was raining very, very heavily half an hour ago or so. So they might need to keep an eye on where the better lines are. And those better lines into the corners might not be the regular lines that you take in the dry conditions. There's also the consideration of the changes in surface that we have here, from tarmac to concrete. They're even running on the pavement at some points. And earlier on today in the Porsche race, in less slippy conditions than this, we saw Porsches really almost losing the back end of the car coming out of the hairpins because of not just the surface changes, but you can see the camber changes here. Some of the corners are off camber. Sometimes you're coming over slight crests as you hit the brakes, and very bumpy sections, of course, particularly bumpy on this run down to the first corner, which will be down to first gear, the tightest corner on the lap, the Grundig hairpin.
So from the Grundig hairpin then they accelerate away around to the left, and there is Susie Wolff, who was chauffeuring Felipe Massa around the this very circuit just a while ago. The Scholler S is now, you and I, during qualifying and some free practice, went and stood at the Scholler S's, and my goodness, what an exciting place to be. And you can actually get a true feel of how close these drivers push it towards the barriers.
Yeah, through this right, they're straight into a left, and through the left-hander, they are getting deliberately as close as they can to the inside barrier, and they're skimming it, and that gives them the straight line to get the power down and head for the wall almost as they come out of the turn. There is the circuit map, just 2.3 kilometres long, and in the dry conditions yesterday, it was taking 47 seconds to get around. It's going to be a lot slower than that, of course, and that lap record, which has stood now for 6 years that Bruno Spengler set. Incidentally, himself a 3 times winner of this event, almost matching Jamie Green in terms of the number of wins here. I think that lap record might stay in one piece for another year, unless it, as you say, suddenly dries out. But there's no signs of that just yet.
No. You can see the standing water there and the spray that's being chucked up there from the Jamie Green car, just proving the point that there is a lot of standing water still on the circuit. Whilst it may not be raining at the moment, it's going to take a while for that water to be dissipated away, and a line will gradually emerge, but that is assuming, of course, we don't get another shower. The grid then, Wickens, De Resta, the front row, Jamie Green, the Norisring King, and Pascal Wehrlein. Then it's Paffett, Vitoris, Wittmann, Tombe, Muller, Martin, Rockenfeller and Matthias Ekstrom. And then it's Glock, Hand, Farfus, Spengler, Junkadella, Molina, Tomczyk, Motara, Scheider, Felix da Costa and Vitaly Petrov with the blue tyre symbols. The right of that graphic there as Vitaly Petrov does some entertaining before we...
Before we get going. Just shows there, doesn't it? Even here it's slippy under slow conditions. So a very, very exciting qualifying session yesterday, probably the best of the year. Robert Wickens coming out on top. It's great to see the Canadian really coming good now. He showed some great signs last year. He's had a really strong single-seater career. He was a runner-up in GP3, runner-up in the Formula 2 Championship before that, raced in A1, but he's really, in his 3rd season, come good. Or his 2nd season and his 3rd season now come good. The Mercedes has been difficult, but he's driven very well. He's been one of the lead Mercedes drivers. Paul Di Resta qualifying on the front row as well for the first time in many years. Paul Di Resta, of course, back from Formula 1, back from his duties with Force India, and best qualifying so far this year had been an 18th, but here he is 2nd on the grid, and Jamie Green 3rd on the grid. That's the highest up the grid an Audi has been for 5 years here at the Norisring.
So, safety car leading these cars around then in this very, very damp Norisring circuit. Just 2.3 kilometres as Felipe Massa and Toto Wolff look on. And they're around the Duitsendijk hairpin. Seen several drivers go very, very wide there. There's a bit of runoff there, isn't there? So you can avoid clattering into a barrier.
Easy to carry too much speed as well, because
yes,
through the apex the track drops slightly, doesn't it? So very easy to get sucked into the wall on the exit there.
It was fascinating watching the cars going into that corner. It seemed like it was less than 100 metres before they even started braking and trying to scrub off that speed. Absolutely amazing, and the sounds phenomenal. Safety car coming in this lap, Chris Hartley, and the race, whilst it's run for 3 laps under the safety car, we will feel that it gets underway proper.
Exactly, and a voyage into the unknown for, of course, all the rookies that won't have had any time to drive this track in these conditions, it being a street circuit and somewhere where they haven't been testing, of course. So safety car lights are out, and this, if you like, the real start of the race is Robert Wickens and everybody else behind him weave around and just try and get a bit of heat into those treaded Hankook tyres.
So Robert Wickens, Paul Di Resta, then we see Jamie Green. Cars accelerate down to the Duitsendijk turn. Safety car will peel off, and there's contact there between Jamie Green and Paul Di Resta.
Di Resta spun around, it's going to rejoin, but there might be a bit of damage to the back of the car. Disaster.
So Robert Wickens then. Gary Paffett making a move on the inside here. Jamie Green out on his own now with Paul Di Resta having been turned around. Just look at the spray that's being chucked up from the Jamie Green car. Marco Wittmann going the long way around the outside here.
Yeah, he is at the inside though, the sight line for Gary Paffett. He gets through. Marco Wittmann has to get off the throttle. Go on board with him now, as he went so wide he almost went into the wall. He had to get off the throttle there, and that's going to cost him down to the Scholler S's. So Jamie Green straight up to 2nd, up to 3rd Gary Paffett, but the leader by an absolute mile because of that incident is Robert Wickens. He's got nobody behind him.
Bruno Spengler and Augusto Farfus side by side there. Here is Jamie Green, there is Gary Paffett. And still the spray being chucked up there. Marco Wittmann and Adrian Tombe in a bit of a battle there. There goes Timo Glock going through, the champion Mike Rockenfeller as well. And still Farfus and Spengler are fighting together here.
Contact between them as well, but Farfus, the Brazilian, did a great job there to hang on to it, but it's not over yet. Spengler trying to get up the inside of him now. He'll have to back off though. And they just about get away with it. Visibility absolutely zero out there, Dave.
Visibility absolutely zero, and various bits of carbon being chucked off the cars as well. Brilliant heli shot that we're able to bring you here of this DTM action at the Norisring, as a big snake of cars come through that extremely tight turn where we have seen contact. Very early stages of this. We go on board with Bruno Spengler right now. There's our race leader, Robert Wickens. Jamie Green is P2, then it's Gary Paffin, P3, then Pascal Wehrlein, P4.
The rest at 11th after that incident just before the safety car disappeared off. And Daniel Hungerdijk with a moment there, whether it was on his own or somebody helped him. But anyway, he's dropped to the back of the field now. I think we're about to find out what happened, Dave. He had to go at the inside of Molina, and the door closed as Molina took his racing line.
It was really rather a bold move by Danny Hungerdijk, wasn't it?
Yeah, he'll be going out on the Friday free practice session for Force India at the Grand Prix next weekend at Silverstone. So we're looking forward to that, but disaster so far, and in comes everybody.
Right.
Farfus leading the pack in as they come in to put fresh tyres on. Car 21 under investigation.
Well,
which is Jamie Green after that incident with Paul di Resta. So they're looking into that, the stewards.
Probably no surprise there, is there? So on board with Molina as he accelerates away, and out there is Augusto Farfus. Tomczyk running him out wide there, really, wasn't he?
So some opting to take their pit stop early, the mandatory pit stops. There's no pit window in the wet conditions in terms of it having to pit in the middle third of the race. So it's a bit freer on strategy.
So Wittmann and Villatoris there. Wittmann going the long way around there. Adrien Tombe, is he going to lose out there to Maxime Martin? No, Tombe has got the traction out of the corner, but we're staying on board with Marco Wittmann here.
Contact down at the hairpin. Nico Muller sent around.
Nico Muller and
Joey
Joey
Hand, wasn't it, having a go at the inside in the BMW. Not too much damage though.
There is Gary Paffett going through.
Paul di Resta's back up into the points now. He's back up into the top 10. So it seems like the car's working okay, despite the tap from Jamie Green.
To be fair, brilliant qualifying we saw from Paul di Resta, wasn't it? It got the car underneath him, and undoubted driving skill. A lot of work to do now, though, following that getting together with Jamie Green right at the start. And now Marco Wittmann loses out. He was going to lose out 2 places, I think.
He is, yeah, down at the hairpin. Adrien Tombe getting through and taking with him Maxime Martin, the Belgian driver, of course. Will have never driven around here in the wet at all in his first season of DTM. Martin's doing pretty well, isn't he? Up to 7th place. Blue and white BMW.
A little bit of contact there between Tombe and Wittmann, and see it from on board of Tombe, and there we go.
Bit of rubbing, it wasn't too harsh though, was it? It's a good move actually from Tombe. He came out at the last possible fraction of a second, didn't he?
And that is Tombe being hounded now by Maxime Martin. Maxime Martin just looking up the inside there, and Tombe will have better traction, or will he? Yes, he has.
That was clever, wasn't it, from Tombe?
Yeah, it was.
He let him go.
Jostling there, wasn't there?
That's a big twitch though on the way to the Scholler S. He's going to run deep into the corner, and he'll have to drag it back across to the middle of the track to take the ideal line through the left-hand part of the Scholler S. So it's a bit scruffy, and Martin back on him now.
And just behind, di Resta is on to Timo Glock now. And just at the back of the picture there, I'm not sure if di Resta was right alongside him. Yes, he is. Timo Glock got the inside line around the Duisendijk turn there. And Matthias Ekstrom in that as well. Maxime Martin and Tombe battling here. Now Martin is going to be in the right place for the Grundig turn, isn't he? So Tombe will try a switch back here now and dive up the inside, won't he?
Very low on the brakes, wasn't it, from Martin?
Martin deliberately making that car quite wide.
Yeah, sitting plummy in the middle of the track. Right, so Paul di Resta comes in to make his stop. In and out 3 seconds. Only tyre changes these days, of course, for DTM. No refuelling. Hasn't been for a couple of seasons now. But 3-second pit stop. So very impressive. This then the battle for 6th place. Martin still just ahead of Tombe. The BMW just ahead of the Audi. Marco Wittmann in his BMW, the championship leader, just fallen back a bit, Dave.
Yes, you're right. As we continue to watch this, we go on board with Marco Wittmann as they cross the start-finish line.
Gary Paffett has just set a very, very quick second sector, a personal best in sector 3, and he's taken 0.4 of a second out of Jamie Green. It's in the battle for second place, so the gap's down to under 5 seconds now between the 2 British drivers.
And of course, whilst that's all going on, Robert Wickens he's got a comfortable cushion of some 2.2 seconds up front, hasn't he? Just begin to see a line beginning to dry out there, can't we? So much spray, though, still being chucked over these cars. Wipers going absolutely flat out.
Sometimes Ekstrom taking a different line through the hairpin as well. You can afford to do that, Dave, if there's nobody right behind you, but if there is somebody right behind you, you don't go out wide because it just invites trouble, doesn't it, at the inside?
And with di Resta having chosen to go in to take a pit stop, Ekstrom is into P10. And with such a short lap here already, these cars encountering traffic, aren't they? Jamie Green sets the fastest lap of 55.759.
Yeah, that in response to Gary Paffett closing up on the previous lap. So now he's got the gap down to 1.7 seconds to the race leader.
Bear in mind that Jamie Green is, of course, still under investigation. Safely past the backmarking Antonio Felix da Costa car. So Jamie Green, the king of Norisring, is currently P2, but do bear in mind he is under investigation. So brought the gap down a little bit, hasn't he, to Robert Wickens was 2.2. It's now, you can see over the last 3 laps what the gap has been, 1.9 now. So Jamie Green on a bit of a charge.
So we've got Mercedes in the lead and Audi in second, then Mercedes 3rd, 4th and 5th. And the best placed BMW is Maxime Martin. They're in 6th place. He's still having that battle with Adrien Tombe, but has edged away a little bit now from the Frenchman, who's still 7th, Wittmann 8th, Glock 9th, Ekstrom now in 10th place. But the number of drivers having made their pits already, including Paul di Resta, who's down in 18th place, but everybody else, of course, is going to have to pit at some point.
So just seeing the cars go through a brilliant camera shot that we're able to bring you there. And Timo Glock. Oh, and there was a little bit of contact there.
To be fair to Ekstrom, he tried to avoid Glock. He got a bit of a lock-up, didn't he?
Yeah.
And just went out wide to try and miss him and just nicked him. But otherwise, I think he'd have been straight into the back of the ex-Formula 1 racer. Green set another fastest lap of the race. It's only fractionally quicker, though, than the race leader, Robert Wickens.
So gap down to 1.7 now. Jamie Green, the driver that's racing under investigation, as Timo Glock still defending from Matthias Ekstrom. We're on board with Pascal Wehrlein right now. You just see the Gary Paffett car. There it is. And Pascal Wehrlein with Nico Müller in between. Pascal Wehrlein goes through.
Wehrlein's best ever DTM finish so far is a 10th. And here he is in 4th place, absolutely flying along. Maxime Martin in the first sector of this lap took half a second out of Christian Vitoris in 5th place. So the Belgian is absolutely flying here in the BMW.
So Jamie Green then, under investigation, now has been awarded a pit stop penalty of 5 seconds. So, 5-second pit stop penalty for Jamie Green. Let's just look at the times here. So he's 1.5 seconds behind Robert Wickens now. So these cars have all got to make a pit stop, haven't they? obviously Jamie Green's is going to be longer than anybody's.
Yeah, but he is 8.6 seconds ahead of Gary Paffett in third position. Very good wet weather drive, well, very good driver, a full stop, but the 8-time winner, Jamie Green, very good in wet conditions. We know about his success on this circuit. At Oschersleben, at one point in that race, he built up a 12-second lead over everybody else. But the safety car ruined all that for him, and he ended up in 7th place. There's the damage to the right rear corner of Timo Glock's BMW. After that clip from Matthias Ekström, not Ekström's fault, he was just trying to avoid Glock because they both locked up under braking. Gap creeping down again between the top two on the previous laps. 1.4 seconds now, so Green is really trying here to catch Robert Wickens in the lead of the race. Paffett third, Wehrlein fourth, Vitteris and Martin still the next two through to complete the top 6.
So there is Glock in the familiar Deutsche Post livery across that BMW. Ahead of him, Matthias Ekström. See the margin there between Ekström and Timo Glock, and that is literally just panel work, isn't it? It's not going to cause any problems to Timo Glock. Car number 20 being shown the blue flag. It's Vitaly Petrov. Now there is Jamie Green. Now, interestingly, Robert Wickens has now got a bit of an ally right behind him as a back-marking car, hasn't he?
Yep, the Mercedes have got a really, they've got still problems with that car. There's no doubt about it. The Mercedes has not been on the pace in the dry conditions, but here at the Norisring, it's a very different circuit to everywhere else. And on days like this, where it's raining, where they've got a circuit that suits their car, they've really got to capitalise and get as many points as they can. It might not be too many opportunities for Mercedes to win races. They've done a good job so far in taking wins where they could. At Oschersleben, Christian Vittoris got his maiden race victory, 16th on the grid. So they've got to make the most of this, and they know it. But Jamie Green is in the mix at the moment for Audi. Looking for Audi's first win at this circuit since 2002.
And Jamie Green still, he has achieved it now and has got past the Mercedes, so he can once again just start to claw in Robert Wickens. The gap is up to 1.7 seconds now between Wickens and Jamie Green. Christian Vittoris and Maxime Martin there. So Vittoris is P5, Martin is P6. Antonio Felix da Costa also being shown the blue flag. Just ahead of Christian Vittoris is the back Martin Vitaly Petrov car.
One of the drivers that have made pit stops so far.
Yeah.
The lead one is Martin Tomczyk, the 2011 champion, in 17th place. Then it's Farr first in 18th, then De Resta in 19th, Molliner in 20th place. But of course, having made their stops and with it being such a short lap, they're already one lap down on the leaders.
Well, I was inclined to say Petrov took a very wide line through there to allow those behind to get past, but didn't work out that way at all. So Wickens increased by 3/10 the margin over Jamie Green at the front. And there is our race leader, Robert Wickens. There is Jamie Green, who's got a 5-second pit stop penalty to take. Comes Gary Paffett now, crosses the timing line, and 10.7 seconds back. Then it's Pascal Wehrlein. The Guix livery across the Pascal Wehrlein car.
Yeah, the gap's opening up slightly on that lap. 2/10 contact out there with Petrov going down the inside and making sure he got through. But I was about to say, the gap's creeping out between the top four. Wickens, the race leader, was 2/10 quicker than Green. Green in second place was 2/10 quicker than Paffett. And Paffett in third was 2/10 quicker than Wehrlein. Still got this very tight battle between Vitteris and Martin for 5th place. And here's that replay. Down the inside went the Russian driver. And that's the second time in this race that probably Nico Müller has been hit by somebody else.
Right, Timo Glock and Bruno Spengler. This is P11 and P12. Bit of a lock up there, wasn't it, from Timo Glock? Got twitchy at the front end, didn't he? Bruno Spengler in BMW Bank all-black car. Such a short lap, just 2.3 kilometres here at the rain-affected Norisring. It's surface water that's being sprayed around now. At the moment, we don't have any falling rain. And again, Glock goes very, very deep there. Mike Rockefeller makes a mistake as well. Rocky having a torrid time of it down in P15. Ran very wide there around the Duisendijk turn.
Yeah, second in the championship, but he's never really looked on it. The Audi hasn't really looked to be working that well around here, the Phoenix Audi. Phoenix having great success last weekend with another win, a 4th win at the 24-hour race at the Nürburgring. Rockefeller struggling here through the traffic. They all come then. Tombe puts a lap now on Nico Muller. Through he goes. Fastest first sector of anybody now for Jamie Green on that last lap. And 1.9 seconds. The gap sort of stabilising between the top two here. I think we're going to have a battle pretty soon, Dave, for 8th place, because Ekstrom has been catching Whitman. So Matthias Ekstrom almost with now Whitman. There's less than a second between them. Joey Hans isn't that far behind the pair of them either.
Jamie Green, pit stop penalty being awarded to him of 5 seconds. Another driver under investigation now is Vitaly Petrov.
For that move down at the hairpin, no doubt. Robert Wickens, the Mercedes driver, you can see the gaps. It's fairly stable between the top two. Jamie Green pushes on. There was a win on terms of the track for Audi last year. Matthias Ekstrom took the checkered flag, but then broke Parc Fermé rules when somebody handed him a bottle of water in Parc Fermé. Not allowed, he got kicked out. Robert Wickens finished second in the race, but wasn't actually promoted to the race victory. So for the first time in 30 years of DTM, there was a race with no winner. And I think Robert would like to put that goes to bed, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
By actually winning the race here and actually getting the trophy. Driving superbly at the moment, isn't he? Every time Jamie Green comes back at him, there's another good lap from Wickens to open the gap back up again.
Absolutely right. They're seesawing between each other, aren't they, in terms of the lap times that they're posting. It's Gary Paffett then and Pascal Wehrlein. The live gap between the two, well, jolly near 9/10, isn't it, between Paffett and Pascal Wehrlein. Rain-affected shot that we're able to bring you from the rear of that car, and it's getting very, very busy down there. And as you said, this battle between Marco Wittmann and Matthias Ekstrom is going to hot up, isn't it?
Yeah, Ekstrom right with him through the traffic. So Matthias absolutely on a charge here. Wittmann, the championship leader, with the 2 wins to his name, but the man that's chasing him has had 17 DTM wins, 2 championship titles. Matthias Ekstrom always goes well here at the Norisring. If Robert Wickens wants to put goes to bed here and win the race, Matthias Ekstrom wants it even more. He has a nibble at the inside on the way into the hairpin, gets halfway alongside. He had to back off the throttle, and it'll cost him a couple of lengths coming out of the corner.
Marco Wittmann, who's had such a fantastic start to his DTM season for 2014, has got Matthias Ekstrom challenging. Joey Hand is right behind Ekstrom, and then we got to get to Spengler, who has got past Timo Glock.
Of those that have made a pit stop, Molyneux's got ahead of De Resta now for 19th place, so he's in the group of those that have made one pit stop. He's 3rd now, behind Tomczyk, Farfus, Molyneux 3rd, De Resta 4th.
Okay, 2 drive-through penalties that have been awarded. Drive-through penalty for non-respect of the blue flag for Vitaly Petrov, and also for car number 22, Nico Muller.
All right, so that puts them even further down the order. Petrov and Muller are the last 2 in the race anyway, 22nd and 23rd respectively, but the gap is obviously going to open up now. And is that Wehrlein ahead of Paffett as we see them coming
Indeed.
through? He's got through somewhere, so Pascal Wehrlein's up to 3rd place now. Long way to go, but he's on course for his first ever podium.
Well, somewhere he has done that, hasn't he? And opening up a bit of a gap now over Gary Paffett, isn't he?
as they come through. Yeah, Wehrlein did a 55.7. Gary Paffett lost 2 seconds on that lap, more or less, with a 57.3. So I suspect he had a moment somewhere, Gary, and that's why Pascal was able to get through. He wasn't all that close to the back of Gary when we saw them last, was he?
No.
Looks like that rain is starting to get heavier again to me from the shots we see there.
Back end there, just letting go of Pascal Wehrlein's car just a little bit. Here's how it happened, perhaps. No, this is Ekstrom and Marco Wittmann.
And he's through this time, isn't he? The Swede. A good move, that. There's the race leader. Robert Wickens, the Canadian. Jamie Green in second. Pascal Wehrlein up to third. Gary Paffett fourth. Christian Viteris in fifth place. And Maxime Martin still going very well. Ex-Blancpain endurance racer in sixth place. Tombe seventh. Ekstrom eighth. Wittmann ninth. And Joey Hand completing the top 10.
Pascal Wehrlein and Gary Paffett. Then Christian Vitoris. You just see the difference the cars are making to the track in terms of the line through, can't you? But you're absolutely right. I think we are beginning to see some falling rain once again.
Certainly lighter than it was to start with, but as we've said, this track is still pretty mild and this track can dry out quickly. And I suppose there's an argument to say that you want to leave your pit stop as late as you can, really, because if you could time it so that you could come in if the track did dry out and change to slicks and just have the one pit stop, you're giving yourself an option, aren't you? If you've already changed tyres,
yes,
you're going to have to make at least 2 stops should the track dry out. It's a big if, but
yeah,
I think it's maybe about trying to keep your options open at this stage, not knowing what the weather's going to do.
No, maybe so. So Robert Wickens, let's take a look over the last 3 laps. The difference between Robert Wickens and Jamie Green, you can see there on screen.
Wickens is flying at the moment,
yes,
54.9. He's only one in the 54s. He's just gone 7/10 quicker than Jamie Green in second place. This is a very good showing from Pascal Wehrlein, isn't it?
Yes.
Meanwhile, Gary Paffett has been caught by Christian Vitoris now for 4th place.
So very different lines there from Vitoris and Paffett, aren't they? As they head over the start-finish straight down to the Grundig turn. And Vitoris is right on the back of Gary Paffett. And Pascal Wehrlein has managed to open up a bit of a gap, hasn't he, to Gary Paffett now. And, well, this is how Pascal Wehrlein made it work. Gary Paffett just in too deep there, wasn't he? And
wasn't a massive moment to have lost that much time, though, was it? But, yeah, left the door open. Maybe another moment somewhere on that lap, because, as I say, he lost more than 3/4 seconds. And now he's having to fend off Christian Vitoris. It looks like he's maybe struggling a bit with the tyres at this stage of the race. And Jamie Green wasn't all that quick on the last lap, but it may have been traffic because he's just had a better lap with a 55.3. Personal best lap for Pascal Wehrlein in 3rd place.
So there is Paffett in the blue and yellow Euronics livery. I think we've mentioned Timo Scheider, have we? Down there in P14, but he's taking a look at Glock now, and of course right behind Timo Scheider is the champ Mike Rockenfeller. So Timo Glock P13, Timo Scheider P14.
3 incredibly quick German drivers here, all about to go to battle. Glock, Scheider, Rockenfeller. BMW pursued by 2 Audis here. Timo Scheider, the last driver to win back-to-back titles, and the current champion, Mike Rockenfeller, trying to recover from that earlier moment, which we saw about 5-6 minutes ago, where he went straight on at the hairpin. Lots of blue flags being waved today, because there's lots of lappery here, more so than normal, with it being such a short lap. Still very wet out there, Dave, but I do think there's less spray than we were seeing at the start of the race.
I think you might be right. Rockefeller now gets close to Scheider as Glock sort of bunches the two up, really. So BMW, Audi there. It's P13, 14 and 15, the battle that we're watching. Robert Wickens has, well, the margin is 4.8 seconds now between Robert Wickens and Jamie Green. Just a moment there for Timo Glock, as you saw.
Yeah, the lap times are definitely coming down now for everybody. Jamie Green's found another 0.3 of a second. In fact, most of the drivers in the top 6 are going about 0.3 quicker now than they were a couple of laps ago. So it's beginning to dry out a little bit.
Well, Wickens last time around 54.962, Green 55.094. And still Christian Vitoris is in behind Gary Paffett. Is that about to change now?
That was clean and tidy, wasn't it?
It was.
Vitoris. So Christian goes through to 4th place. You can see them trying to find the wetter surface now on the straights,
Yep.
can't you, to try and keep the tyres cooler. So they can obviously feel this, the drivers feel that the tyres might need a bit of nursing at this stage in the race.
So when is that call made, Chris? That was what's going through our mind and probably everybody else's as well. And of course it is a gamble that we're not going to get any more showers. That was how Christian Vitoris went through the, well, very inviting gap, to be fair, left by Gary Paffett.
I think Gary can do anything about it. He's Mercedes is not getting the best out of those tyres at the moment. And I think he's thinking more of the long game here. There's no point fighting that. You've got the position. You've got to try and get this car to the end of the race and pick up some points after a very difficult start to the season for the 05 champion. Full-time runner-up, of course, Gary Paffett as well. The most winning driver out there with 20 wins to his name. But Gary Paffett down to 5th place now and gone in the pits. So the call comes. I think he's had enough of those tyres. And Gary Paffett goes into the pits. Miguel Molina runs a bit wide. He's all the way down in 19th place. Difficult race weekend so far for Miguel. Into the pits to get some new wet tyres on is Gary Paffett. It's another decent stop, isn't it? Bang on 3 seconds, Dave.
Yes, now with the huge experience that Gary Paffett has, and he's opted to go on to another set of wets. Whilst the lap times may be coming down, he would know better than anybody, I would hesitate to say, when the conditions are going to be absolutely right. And clearly they're nothing like that, are they? So he's gone with another set of wet weather tyres. If anyone could make it work, Gary could, I would have said.
Yeah, because I should say with all that experience, for 10 years or so of DTM experience. So he'll rejoin in 10th position, I think. 10th or 11th places he'll be. How about those that have made their stops there? Well, Gary Paffett is going to come out in front of them. Should be by a long way. And then you'd have at the head of the next group now, Farfus has got ahead of Tomczyk. Yeah. So Farfus ahead of Tomczyk. Those two, 2nd and 3rd of those that have made their one pit stop, Molina, and then De Resta. So De Resta struggling a bit at the moment. Well, he's just set a decent lap, to be fair, and has just closed the gap a bit more now to Molina.
There you can see the last 3 laps. The gap difference between our race leader and P2. We're on board with Adrian Tombe now. And still Glock leads this double Audi pairing of Scheider and Rockefeller.
Yeah, this is the battle for 12th place. On the fringes of some points here. And they're all trying to catch Edo Mortara, who's up to 11th place now. Edo has come from 20th on the grid. Hasn't been in the pits yet, of course, but Mortara doing a pretty good job here. Bit of a surprise to see him go out of qualifying so early yesterday, wasn't it?
Yes. So all heavy braking now.
Yeah.
Debris on the circuit towards the exit of that turn, isn't there? Well,
visibility so much better for the drivers now. They can get right behind the car in front and actually see what they're doing now at the start of the race. The first 10 or 15 minutes, they must have been driving by their senses, I think, Dave, just remembering where the corners were, where the turning points were. I wouldn't think they could have seen a great deal.
No, I wouldn't agree with that. So Scheider goes very wide, hoping to get the traction out, but nothing doing. And well, Wehrlein, see how Vitoris is really caning that car now, isn't he?
It's going very well. Really wide on the entry there. It's cut in. And then look how close they get to the inner barrier. And then they aim for the wall. They'll go a lot closer to the wall in the dry conditions. They'll be all over that pavement, wouldn't they? But they're staying well away from it in these wet conditions. And
Glock's gone round.
Move as, yeah, Glock and some debris as well, which doesn't bode well, does it?
Well, here comes... how did Glock go round here?
All on his own.
No, absolutely. Oh, and both Scheider and Rockenfeller did very, very well to avoid any contact on the spinning Glock car, didn't they?
Yeah.
So Timo absolutely on his own, not aided in any way at all.
Yeah, Rocky had to take to the curbs then to miss him, didn't he? Fires it back up, fires a gap in the traffic and goes through. So that'll be Timo Scheider up to 12th, Mike Rockenfeller up to 13th place. And Vitoris has got that third place as well, hasn't he now?
Vitoris really is on a charge now.
Yeah, I think he was about to get the move when we cut to that incident, so...
Wehrlein clearly didn't hinder him in his quest, did he? Because Vitoris was clearly so much quicker. So Christian Vitoris then, see what the margin is now. Look at that, 1.2.
Well, he's obviously loving the damp conditions. This is where he shone in at Oschersleben, isn't it? The second round of the championship, these sorts of conditions. Christian Vitoris.
Wonder if across the manufacturer there's been a mix of car setups, you know, to try and anticipate every possible weather condition. You know, some have gone for perhaps a full wet setup, some have gone for a bit of a compromise. Don't know.
They'll all have, you know, access to the very best weather forecast and data, but that can only give you so much. And at the end of the day, I think in a race like this, it's a compromise on the setup, isn't it? It's what's going to deliver the best for the longest. And there might be points in the race where the car just doesn't work that well, depending on the surfaces and how wet it is.
54.472 from Christian Vitoris. 54.554 from Robert Wickens.
And Ekstrom's crept back up to 6th place now.
Yeah.
So Matthias Ekstrom is getting in the mix now.
Bear in mind, he was put back 5 places on the grid as well for hampering Pascal Wehrlein, or impeding Pascal Wehrlein in qualifying. So Wickens, green, that's Vitoris, then it is Wehrlein, and Maxime Martin and Matthias Ekstrom that we see on screen there.
Into the mid-54s now for Robert Wickens, the race leader. Jamie Green's into the 54s as well, but a 54.2 last time around for the fastest man on the circuit. In 3rd place, Christian Vitoris. He's a long, long way down behind Jamie Green, but he's absolutely flying, and he's already pulled a couple of seconds clear of Pascal Wehrlein.
So, of course, Jamie Green with the addition of 5 seconds to his pit stop that he has got to take. And to be fair, Roney now reaching the halfway stage in this race as Ekstrom now gets right alongside Maxime Martin. Has he got the drive here to pass Maxime Martin? They run so close to the wall, but Ekstrom set that up really, really well, Chris.
Yeah, he's got past the former GT1 racer, it seems. Just got to get the job done here. They're bearing right as they brake for the left-hander, look, so very unsettled the car will be under braking into this hairpin. And I think Tombay's coming back at them as well, isn't he, a little bit, in 7th place. So he's almost onto the back of the train. And that's why I think Ekstrom was keen to get through as quickly as he could, because he could see Tombay coming back after them. So a nicely executed move that to get himself now up to 5th position, Matthias Ekstrom. And here we see...
That was close between Mortara and Spengler.
That was for 10th place. So for a point. Yeah, as you can see, it's still raining, isn't it? Still coming onto the screen of the BMW Bruno Spengler out of the points at the moment. Looking at Gary Paffett, he's got the newer tyres on and was running well, 54.9, so he's kind of on the pace, but he's certainly not the quickest one out there. That's still Vitoris with older tyres on, which he's had since the start of the race. Vitoris is 0.6 quicker than Gary Paffett, who's obviously down the order and probably finding it more difficult to get clean laps in.
So we're watching Jamie Green, who is P2. Now, bear in mind, when Jamie Green takes his pit stop, he's going to have a 5-second penalty added to his pit stop. And at the moment, Green is, 8.5 behind Robert Wickens. Robert Wickens driving like a demon, isn't he? Last time around, a 54.7, very nearly 4/10 quicker than Jamie Green. And as the rain becomes just a little bit heavier now, the brolly's back up, and you can see against the black drop of that brolly there that it is beginning to fall good and proper now.
Well, if Jamie Green, with this 5 seconds added to his time, he'd still be ahead of Christian Vitoris, but that gap's coming down all the time as Vitoris flies. And what Jamie Green could really do with that is a safety car, because then, of course, they'll all be on him, and the 5 seconds will cost him several positions. But as long as the tyres are working, and they seem to be going pretty well for Jamie Green, he'll be loath to come in.
Vitoris will be hampered now by some traffic, won't he?
Not for long the way he's going. He's carving through them, isn't he?
Fair point, yeah.
Yeah, some of this is luck, isn't it, on a circuit like this, just where you get up to the back markers. I mean, you've all got to go through the traffic, but you could be lucky and get past them on the straight. You could end up getting stuck behind somebody through the Scholler S's, which will ruin not only that corner, but the exit from it.
This is Tombe on Maxime Martin. And got the inside now. It's going to be down to the late braking here, isn't it? And Tombe runs wide and effectively has to take Maxime Martin with him, doesn't he? But he does get the job done there.
Yeah, it's good actually from Tombe. Good track positioning. He made sure that Martin couldn't cut back and try and out-accelerating coming out of the corner. He just kept it drifting. Martin had to keep going out wide and was forced to wait to get on the throttle. So Tombe, in the end, secures the move pretty easily. Fastest first sector of anybody in the race now for Matthias Ekstrom with a 19.6 second sector one. That was 4/10 quicker than Jamie Green, for example, in second place. So there he is. Really getting a move on now in the Audi. Still working well.
So we have Wickens leading from Jamie Green in P2. Then it is Christian Vitoris P3, Pascal Wehrlein P4. Then this man, Matthias Ekstrom, is P5.
Tombe 6th, and then Martin 7th. Jerry Hand up to 8th place now for BMW. Eden Mortara up to 9th, having a good race from 3/4 of the way down the grid. Marco Wittmann, the championship leader, is only just in the points at the moment in 10th place. Spengler 11th, Scheider 12th, Rockenfeller 13th, Ankadea 14th, Paffett 15th as the first of those drivers to have made a pit stop.
There is Mike Rockenfeller with Timo Scheider ahead. The Schaeffler liveried car of the champion Mike Rockenfeller. Antonio Felix da Costa. There then is our race leader. Not seen too much of him because he's having a bit of a time of it out there on his own, isn't he? With a margin back to Jamie Green in P2 now of 9.7 seconds.
And he's keeping that car across to the left, take the better line through this kink to straight line it, but also to keep the tyres cool as he goes through the wetter part of the circuit off the racing line. It's extremely wet as they come out of the final turn if you were to drift off line, but it's a very wide circuit this. For a street circuit, it's pretty wide.
And as Jamie Green runs very, very wide there, it was as he crossed the start-finish line, the gap was up to 10.5 between Wickens and Green. To increase now because of that running wide. So Jamie Green then, who has not yet been in for his pit stop, and when he does, he has that 5-second penalty to take as Maxime Martin comes in.
Jamie Green is now less than 10 seconds clear of Christian Vitoris, who took 1 second out of him on the previous lap. So there's a real fight on here for second place in this race.
So Maxime Martin, another one that goes for a fresh set of wet weather tyres.
2.9 seconds, quickest stop we've seen so far today, I think. So he's now going to go a lap down. Will he come out in and around Gary Paffett, I suppose, is the question. How close is Gary going to be to him? As he's getting a bit delayed there by Timo Glock, who had his spin 10 or 15 minutes ago.
So Wickens now 11.4 ahead of Jamie Green, and well, Vitoris consistently lapping quicker than Jamie Green now, isn't he? 54.6.
Yeah, time seemed to have stabilised. There was a time maybe 5 minutes ago where there were even one or two patches of dry forming, but that rain started to come down again now, and it's staying fairly stable and consistent, so the lap times settling in the mid to high 54s for the quick guys that are out there. And Wickens goes through in the lead. Green is at 11.6 seconds back now in second place. So the Mercedes leads the Audi, then it's Mercedes as the next two cars. Vitoris in third place, Wehrlein in fourth place, Ekstrom for Audi in fifth. Tombe is through then in sixth, Joey Hand, then Motara, then it should be Whitman, and then it should be Spengler for the time being in the top 10. They've all got to make their stop still, Dave.
Well, just opened the comms booth door. Motara and Hand get together there. And Motara getting past Joey Hand, but I was saying, just opened the comms booth door, and I think the rain has stopped now. Interestingly, Bruno Spengler's wiper no longer going. And we've done 50 of 83 laps, or if we look at the clock, we've got 27 minutes remaining.
Gary Paffett has managed to stay ahead of Maxime Martin, so he's still the lead car in terms of those that have made a pit stop so far. He's in 14th place now. Martin has rejoined in 16th position.
Here comes Spengler. Let's see what whether Spengler goes for another set of wets.
I would have thought.
Just
he'd
wonder,
have to, wouldn't he? You might be right there. Somebody might take a gamble at some point.
Well, I just wonder if they're in a position where...
You're right.
What did I say?
Spot on. It's a brave call, though, isn't it?
Option tyres for Bruno Spengler. What can this man do? I thought... Just had a feeling that was going to be the case with Bruno Spengler. Now he's going to have to nurse it for a little while, isn't he? Before he can find...
out of the pits, he's going to have to nurse it.
Find where it's at.
So going for the slick Hankook tyres. He's going to have to hang on to this. It's a gamble, but I guess he and the team felt like they weren't really going to score many points anyway, and maybe they should just try something different. If it fails, well, you weren't going to score any points anyway, probably. If it works, you could get the result of the season here.
Well,
he's not too bad out of the corners, does he, compared to those around him? Farfus wasn't exactly reeling him in. But there are parts of the circuit that are wet. I mean, it's okay through there, almost a drier line forming, but there are still some very wet parts as well.
Well, still plenty of spray coming off the bodywork of Bruno Spengler's car, but, well, prepared to take the gamble. So Vitoris still P3, but reeling Jamie Green in at a rate of knots, Chris.
Yeah, he's taking between 3/4 of a second and 1 second out of Jamie Green all the time here. So Jamie Green still in second place, but not that long ago he had an 11-second advantage over Vitoris in third position, but now the German, he's only 6 seconds behind, and bearing in mind that Jamie's going to carry a 5-second penalty to add on to his time when he comes into the pits, that becomes a 1 second advantage. It's not going to be long, is it? A couple of more laps before Vitoris is effectively going to be promoted up to second place. As Rocky comes in.
Rocky, well, goes the same way as Spengler. Struggles to get traction out of the pit box, but...
It's the wettest part of the course, of course, because it's not been used very much, is it, the pit lane? Easy to trip up over yourself there and look like a real idiot, but Rocky controls it.
Okay, so what have we got? Spengler looking at his lap time, 54.590.
Tell you what, that's not bad.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's doing it on slick tyres, isn't he?
Well, the quickest on the wets is a 54.1. Wickens has done a 54.1. 54.114 is Vitras. It's slightly quicker. And we didn't see what these two have changed to as they come out of the pits.
Pretty sure Farfus is on. Yeah, you can see the
slicks
yellow.
on,
So
yeah.
to Wittmann. I mean, you know,
doing
we've
it
started
now.
the queue now, haven't we?
Yeah.
Timo Scheider.
So here's the advantage of those that left the pit stop late. They've only got to make this one pit stop now. Those that pitted early, and some of them
Here
pitted
comes,
very early.
crucially, here comes Jamie Green now. So first of all, he has to take his 5-second penalty. And now, presumably, they'll chuck slicks onto...
Yes. No? Yes.
Yes.
So he's going to be down to third place now, isn't he? With that, I would have thought, Vitras.
Oh!
If he gets out of the pits in one piece, that is. Just about. That was tight, wasn't it? So out he goes. So yes, those who decided to make their pit stops very early on, and some of them came in at the end of the first lap once the safety car had come in, they got to probably have to come in and make a second pit stop now. Some of these might get away with one stop, those that left it late. De Resta was one, that wasn't he, that pitted very early. Paffett relatively early as well. Unless, of course, Dave, it starts to rain again. Then this all goes out the window and gets turned on its head again.
It certainly could happen. In comes Vitoris then. Car number 17 under investigation for an unsafe release. We can see there Timo Glock.
Right, so Vitras should, I think, probably just come out just ahead of Jamie Green here.
Well, let's see. Well, Vitoris is at the front of the pack coming out of the pit lane.
He's going to do it easily, isn't
He is, yeah. He's going to be way ahead of him, isn't he? Well, there you can see Jamie Green. Well, some time behind Christian Vitoris, but well, drive-through penalty now for...
Timo Glock.
Yeah.
From bad to worse, isn't it? Jamie might be able to close the gap a bit here because, of course, he's already got a bit of heat in those tyres, whereas Christian Vitoris is out on relatively cold tyres. They will have been heated up. But he's got to get used to all this. Jamie's already had a lap of finding out where the traction might or might not be. Wickens is into the 53s now. Ekstrom set the fastest lap of the race, a 52.7. Still on the wet tyres. So it's still marginal, isn't it, which tyre to be on?
Yes.
Gary Paffett's back up to 6th place now. Into the pits has come Tara.
Options going on there.
3rd place. But where will he rejoin? Having a good race, Edo. Worked his way up nicely through the field. Just behind Adrian Tombe will come back out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, 8th place that will be.
Here's Glock then. Drive-through penalty. That unsafe release.
Oof. And that was the unsafe release. Yeah, right into the path of Martin Tomczyk. Got damage to the right-hand side of the car there. Actually cost Timo Glock more time than anybody else, didn't it?
Yes, it did. Well,
Wickens has come in, the race leader's come into the pits. So he's got to be going for slicks, hasn't he? I don't think he's got any choice now.
No, I don't think there's any choice.
Built up a rather nice lead, though. Gary Paffett, who stopped midway through the race, is still out. So he's on the wet tyres still. He's back up to 4th place. The likelihood is he's going to have to come in again, though.
Again.
Just be praying for rain again, won't he?
Well, yes, because if there was a shower now, that would really play into his hands, wouldn't it? But
so that goes Wickens, and there coming into the shot is Christian Vitoris. So it's the whole straight length, pretty much, that the race leader has in terms of an advantage.
Oh,
Gary Paffett sent into a spin.
Tomczyk, wasn't it? See it again here.
Oof. Yeah, that was a bit clumsy, wasn't it?
Turned around, of course, in the race last year as well, didn't he? There's Rocky right on the back of Bruno Spengler, and those two getting very, very close together there, and but barely room for anything, was there?
Breathe in, just about squeezed through. So Gary's been in, we haven't seen it, but I would imagine he's got the slick tyres on now. But that shunt hasn't helped his cause. Fastest first sector of anybody now for Joey Hand, in 8th place in the BMW. That's the second sector of anybody from Mortara, so that track is now really starting to grip up a real dry line there, isn't it, on that run down to the Grundig hairpin, starting to form.
Investigation now between car number 10 and car number 11. We just saw the incident, didn't we, just moments ago between Tomczyk and Paffett. Here's Jamie Green then.
Down to 37 seconds, more or less, behind Vitras in 2nd place. And he's more or less 7 seconds ahead of Ekstrom in 4th place. So, got himself into some clear space here, Jamie Green.
Yep.
Not sure the win is on the cards, but the podium might well be his first of the season with his new team this year. 50.779 now is the new fastest lap of the race, and it's not that long ago that we were in the 54s and 55s, so it's really, like it has all weekend long, it's drying out really quickly, Dave.
Yes, yes, and we've seen this, haven't we, that you know, once it starts drying, it does go away very, very quickly. Well, what have we got? 23 laps, 17 minutes on the clock. Well, barring any more showers, of course, which is something that should be borne in mind. But of course, as you pointed out earlier on, all these teams have got access to weather information, haven't they? And Spengler was the first to come in and take that chance and go on to slick tyres. Edo Mortara then fastest lap at 51.082, set on lap number 60.
Yeah, Spengler was the first to gamble on put the slick tyres on. It hasn't really helped his cause because he went in 10th and he's 10th at the moment, and maybe just a couple of laps where it was still not quite as quick as the wet tyre, and then everybody else waited, kept an eye on what times he was doing. He was the guinea pig, wasn't he? And then when the time was right, then they went for slicks. So I think maybe just went a little bit too early, but it was worth taking that risk, I think.
Best pit lane ranking, Antonio Felix da Costa, look, from start to finish, 31.433. And Spengler, then Paul Di Resta.
Not that quick for Vitras, was it? At 33, 12th, even though he's one of the quickest drivers on the track. And this was when they put Gary Paffett's slick tyres on a few minutes ago. That wet tyres going on to fastest cars.
Wet tyres going on to
Molyneux as well. Assuming this is the last round of pit stops, or was this a replay from earlier on? Possibly. Yeah, I think this is from earlier on. I'd be amazed if anybody got on wets now. Slick is the way to go. Yeah, I think this is from the first round of pit stops, aren't they? There's Eki. He's certainly on slick tyres, and he's certainly going well here, 4th place. Look at them now, how much wider they're going out of that hairpin. All over the pavement now, aren't they?
Absolutely, yes, and that's where the track surface changes considerably, doesn't it? It goes from tarmac to concrete paving, and yeah, in the past they've been sticking to the tarmac and missing the concrete altogether, but now they're able to encroach onto that, aren't they?
Well, whether it's wet, dry, damp, whatever this weekend, Robert Wickens has been magnificent, and he's pulling away further still now from Christian Vitteras. The gap opening up to 16.4 seconds. And he's been consistently quick all weekend, hasn't he, Robert, in the free practice sessions, of which he topped one. And watching him in those sessions, he was not just putting the odd quick lap in, he was very quick, very consistent all the way around here. Might have somebody else that loves this circuit on top of Jamie Green here, Robert Wickens. Seems like this is one of his favourite tracks, doesn't it?
So, Martin Tomczyk then. Wickens, Vitoris, Green, Ekstrom, Wehrlein and Tombe. on board. And there the difference between Wehrlein and Tombe. Just here, Tombe accelerating out of that turn. Lap 65 of 83 as once again we go back on board with Tombe. Edo Mortara, fastest lap now, 49.760. That's set on lap 64. 49.760 from Edo Mortara. Currently P7, absolutely on a charge. Wickens with a 17.5 second margin over Christian Vitoris. Well, just momentarily, we lost one of our monitors. Thank you, Chris Hartley. I didn't realise you were dab hand with a screwdriver as well.
Get the sledgehammer out.
So, whilst you were diving into your tool bag, Mortara setting another stunning lap.
49.4, not that far away from the sort of times we were seeing in qualifying now, low 48s. But you still can't venture off the line too far, can you?
No, there's still, there are still patches of the circuit, as you say, that are wetter than others. 49.467 now from Edo Mortara. It just keeps tumbling down now as the track is completely drying out, isn't it, on the racing line?
Yeah, Edo 6/10 quicker than Tombe, who is trying to catch for 6th place.
Oh, and Rockefeller stuck behind there. He's got Marco Wittmann right behind him as well. It was Joey Hand that was on the receiving end of that little nerf there. Something to be considered here, of course, is as those lap times come tumbling down when you're using the racing line to make an overtake, you've got to go off the racing line, and you're then back into a situation which is perhaps not quite so grippy, and you can see that concertina effect there as we get in replay, that little bit of contact there.
Rocky almost losing a place there to Wittmann coming out of the corner.
Yep.
So these four are battling over 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th, so points to be had here. Marco Wittmann trying to, for the 3rd time this year, score points. But the first time he scored points and not won a race. He's won 2 out of 3 so far. There he is. White and black BMW. Bit of a twitch though for him as he comes out the hairpin. And he loses a bit of ground to Rocky this time. And it's now in fact Rocky that goes on the attack down towards the Scholler S's, getting right into the tail of Joey Hand. So the BMW being harassed by the Audi here, with another BMW just behind.
So go on board with Adrian Tombe now in P6. So there is Tombe. Heavy braking. Sure, he didn't run a bit wide there, to be honest.
Been very consistent, hasn't he, this year? Adrian Tombe is in 6th place here. He's had a 3rd, a 10th and a 5th, so keeps his points scoring run going here. And, having said that, that's with Wehrlein. So yes. Tombe making contact with Wehrlein. This is the rear camera looking back from the German's car.
Bosch
spins him around.
See it from on board Tombe's car then.
A long way back. Wehrlein had to turn into the corner, didn't he?
Yes.
Don't think he expected that. So Pascal coming off worse there. It looks like the car is okay and has survived. He's lost a lot of ground. And of course he's lost that 6th position, and that's why he lost 6th place. .49.1 for Wickens last time around. Times by almost every lap they're falling by 2 or 3 tenths of a second there.
Yes. So the incident we've just seen between Tombe and Wehrlein is under investigation as Jamie Green fights his way through. Antonio Felix Costa is next in his target sights. There is Christian Vitoris. And
Jamie Green's podium isn't guaranteed here because he's running in 3rd place. He's 3.4 seconds clear of Matthias Ekström. On the last lap, Ekström took nearly 0.8 of a second away from the British driver. So one Audi is hunting another one down here. There is Ekström in the background, look. So there's Jamie Green, there's 2 back markers, and then Eki coming after him now for that final place on the podium.
So Green needs to get past Antonio Felix da Costa. Meantime, Martin Tomczyk, we can hear from him right now.
Yes, Martin, what exactly happened? You had a little tete-a-tete with Pavic, spun him around, but then the race ended for you. Why?
Yeah, I had to retire, unfortunately. First of all, it was my mistake. I had locking front tires. I couldn't avoid the crash. Unfortunately, it was again Gary. I mean, we had already some parties together. It's a shame. I mean, I destroyed as well his race, but the conditions were really tricky out there. I just came out with option tires on the damn circuit, and I missed slightly the braking. I couldn't avoid the crash because on the right side was Felix da Costa, so I couldn't move, and I just saw Gary's bumper, and when I saw it, I thought, oh no, not again Gary. No, it's a shame. Big apologize from my side. Yeah, it was stupid.
Thank you very much, Martin. Back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Verena. So Tombe let Mortara pass then. And, well, I feel that Tombe might be on for a penalty, mightn't he? But because of that incident earlier on.
DRS enabled now as well as the conditions improve. DRS in dry conditions available to the end of a race now, which wasn't the case last year. It's one of the new rules for this season. So there's Jamie Green in 3rd position, and his last lap was a 49.4, so he lost a bit of time to Ekström, but not as much as he had on the previous lap. And in comes Miguel Molina to serve a drive-through penalty, is it? Or is it to retire from the race?
Looks like it.
Retire from the race. Been a miserable weekend for Miguel, hasn't it? Given that that's a decent season so far. 2nd last time out at Hungary, and 4th in the championship.
So Wickens then with 22.1 margin over Vitoris. Wittmann going through in P8, Joey Hand P9, and Rocky in P10. And there, on the back of that pack, is our race leader. Extraordinary.
Yep, so Wickens, Vitoris, Green, the top 3, Eki 4th, and then as that gap come down, let's see as they go through. Oh, Vitoris, I was going to say, he hasn't come through. He should have been coming through, so Green's come through in 2nd, Ekström 3rd, and that is why Christian Vitoris has got car troubles. The Mercedes stops with just a few laps to go in the race. So Green's up to 2nd, Ekström's up to 3rd. Matara, incredibly, from 18th on the grid, he's up to 4th place. And Matthias Ekström has just set the fastest first sector of anybody in the race and taken another 10th out.
Looks like a wheel is,
yeah.
You could just see on the right-hand side of the picture there.
It's his right rear, isn't it? Is that the wheel or is it the tyre? It's coming away.
I think it's the wheel. I think it's the whole thing rather than just the tyre.
Presumably he's had a hit somewhere. I wonder if he glanced the wall on a previous lap or something like that. So a real charge from Christian Vitoris, who had was the star of the middle of the race, wasn't he, when he was absolutely flying. And there's a sad sight as his car grinds to a halt. So Matara's up to 4th, Tombe's up to 5th now. Wehrlein on course for his best ever finish in DTM. He's up to 6th. So Ekström's closing on Green, but by less and less each lap. Green is really digging in here for 2nd place. And the gap's stabilising really at 3.4 seconds. So I think really it's going to be about who gets through the traffic with the least drama now as the time begins to tick down.
So Rockefeller and Joey Hand together here. Rocky, current DTM champion. And Joey Hand, then it's Timo Scheider is behind Mike Rockefeller. And there, Rocky getting oh so close. Joey Hand, the American racer, with the Crown Plaza logos across the BMW. There's Marco Wittmann going through. Rocky taking a different line now. Last of the late, some lock up there. I think it was from Joey Hand, and again, just see little bits of carbon coming off the front of Rocky's car there, I think.
Yeah, the defending champion's given a few people a few love taps, hasn't he, on the way through the hairpins. Bone dry now on that part of the circuit, letting the cars drift out a lot wider. This that you're looking at is the battle for 8th place. Joey Hand in the BMW 8th, and Rocky in 9th. Timo Scheider in 10th position. Timo, don't forget, came from 21st on the grid, so the former double champion Timo Scheider has had a really good run through to get into the points here. There you can see the gap over the last couple of laps has come down from 3.4 to 2.3 seconds now between Green and Ekstrom, and much of that was on the last lap. 3/10 of it, in fact, on the last lap, as Ekstrom starts to reel in Jamie Green. Here is Green just in the background. You can see the Red Bull liveried Audi of Matthias Ekstrom.
Yes, with, well, 2.5 minutes left on the clock here, Chris. Awful lot of work for Eki to do, isn't it?
23 seconds up the road, though, from Green. Is the race leader. There he is, Robert Wickens, on course for his second outright DTM win. And he has been, in a word this weekend, Dave, flawless.
Yes, totally unstoppable. Robert Wickens seemed very cool, calm and comfortable just at the start, whatever the weather threw at the start of this race. It didn't faze him in any way whatsoever, did it? I think, to be fair, Mercedes had been praying for those changeable conditions to really play to their strengths and the strengths that they have here at the Norisring. Such a short and different circuit to those of the norm that the DTM race at, this brilliant street circuit here at the Norisring. There is Jamie Green.
Not only does it look like a first win of the season for Robert Wickens, looks like the first points of the season. He hasn't been in the points yet this year. So for the 4th time of asking, Robert's going to go and bang himself the maximum score here. Gap stabilising on that lap, and Ekstrom's going to struggle here if he can't get past Augusto Farfus. Sharpish, so it looks like it might be the end of his charge here, and Jamie Green might well be second in that second place.
Yes, I think so. Augusto Farfus down there in P14 in the Castrol Edge BMW.
There you go.
Tombe and Verline.
Verline won't be best pleased with Tombe, who hit him a few laps ago. Come back after him pretty quickly, hasn't he, here? I think Pascal might have a go for 5th place. Here he comes, the Mercedes on the Audi. Payback time, is it? Let's have a look. Oh, locks up under braking there. It's a determined move from the youngster. He's out on the wet stuff now, though, and he'll lose the traction, and it won't work. Last lap of the race, Dave.
So what has been a race very, very affected by a huge downpour just before a start of the race, but through qualifying and through the race itself, Robert Wickens has done an outstanding job. And as you said, Chris, he just hasn't put a foot wrong.
He's coming up to lap the champion.
This, he feels, is payback for last year, perhaps, as Robert Wickens takes the checkered flag and the win. A flawless drive from the Canadian. Jamie Green then, in the all-orange Audi here, is going to be, barring at a disaster, safe for P2 as he heads to the line. And the charge from Matthias Ekstrom was just too late to take P2, but he does get on the podium P3.
Yeah, good charge from Ekstrom. And great drive from Edo Matara there to go from 18th to 4th as he crosses the line. And on board with Adrian Tombe, who it looks like he's going to hold on to 5th place. Through he goes. With Pascal Wehrlein giving it everything to try and get past on that last couple of laps, but Wehrlein in the end was a 10th back. So Tombe hangs on to 5th, Wehrlein right behind him as it went over the line in 6th place, and the championship leader Marco Wittmann in 7th place. So he finishes where he starts. Joey Hand in 8th position, Mike Rockenfeller 2nd in the championship, 9th, and it should be to come through to complete the top 10. Timo Scheid, in fact, Timo was a lap down, so he'll be classified already in 10th place. So, how about that? You wouldn't have thought this at Hockenheim. We've had 4 races, and 2 of them now have been won by Mercedes.
Well, you and I were having a conversation with Christian Vittoris, weren't we, even before qualifying, and he was saying that how the Norisring circuit is going to play to the hands of Mercedes a little bit, and of course I think the weather helped as well.
Real shame for Vittoris. He drove really well, didn't he?
Here's Dr. Siecher and Toto Wolff right now.
Yes, indeed. Well, what a fantastic race. Dr. Zetsche, first of all, the success of Mercedes-Benz continues at the Norisring. What do you say?
Well, of course, that's perfect. When I said I would come to this race, I did not expect to see a win. So, of course, it's even more pleasure to have this perfect ending of this great race. Start with a lot of rain, then later on it was drying out. So it was a real exciting race, and I think they did a great job at our team.
Absolutely, and a total perfect flawless race of Wickens, but however very unfortunate with Vittoris, him losing his wheel in P2.
Yeah, very unfortunate. It was a good and solid 1 and 2. We have to check what happened to the car, but I mean, a win is a win. Obviously it would have been good to finish 1 and 2, but that's how it goes.
Congratulations to the victory. Thank you very much. Back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Verena. So, Robert Wickens then, what a star you are. There is Jamie Green to serve a 5-second pit stop penalty. But takes P2. And here then, confirmation of the result. Robert Wickens taking the win from Jamie Green, Matthias Ekstrom, P3. Then it's Edo Mortara, Adrian Tombe, Pascal Wehrlein, Marco Wittmann, Joey Hand, Mike Rockenfeller, and Timo Scheid, the top 10. Then it was Bruno Spengler and Gary Paffett. Then the next page of the confirmation then, Danny Juncadello, Augusto Farfus, Paul de Resta, Timo Glock, Felix da Costa, Maxime Martin, Nico Muller. So Matthias Ekstrom is the next to be lined up by Verena Wright.
Yes, and he is here with us. Eki, congratulations, a fantastic 3rd place. How does it feel?
No, it was pretty wild in the beginning. Lost a lot of time with all the fights, and then traffic was for sure not the dream when the lap guys didn't let us through. So for sure it was a great to end P3 when you start P12, but we created our luck with the decision of yesterday. So that's not so much to say.
Well, congratulations. Thank you very much. And Jamie, quickly. Okay, well, I guess I'm going to grab Jamie in just a few seconds. Struggling to come to me, but yeah, no problem, Jamie. So back to you guys. I'll grab him later.
Okay, you're working really hard, Verena. I understand that. So Jamie Green, not able to talk to Verena at the moment. He will be caught by her, rest assured, in due course. Okay, the result again, because there was a 30-second penalty to Antonio Felix da Costa. So there you can see the second page with Antonio Felix da Costa.
Real disappointment for de Resta after starting on the front row of the grid. Opportunity missed, wasn't it?
Heading up towards the podium here. An incredible place, this Norisring circuit, and the infrastructure that gets brought in, Chris Hartley, for this one weekend, this Norisring Speed Weekend event, DTM. And Robert Wickens then being hustled by Anya up towards the podium.
Looks very fresh still, doesn't he? After all that work, I mean, the focus that's required on every single corner of this lap. There's no respite at all. Great job.
So congratulated there by Manfred from Hankook Tyres. So Robert Wickens, of course, it was a long while before the decision was made this time last year in terms of what was happening with that race, but there's no doubting the winner on this occasion, is there?
No, absolutely right. Tremendous drive to be so dominant. 24 seconds he won by. And almost as surprising was the fact there was no safety cars in that race as Robert Wickens heads to the podium and to the top step for the first time this season.
Absolutely delighted. There's Jamie Green.
Yeah, really good job by Jamie, wasn't it? And he fought off this man in the closing stages, Matthias Ekström, who was coming after him. A lot of respect between these two drivers, and Eki with a good result there in third place.
Plenty of noise down there from the teams ahead of the podium and national anthem. Well, the thumbs up from Robert Wickens. Magnificent trophies being presented here at Norisring, as well as Dr. Markus Söder, the Bavarian Minister of State, makes the winning trophy presentation to Robert Wickens, and he holds the trophy aloft. Then it is Mr. Alphonse Horman, the DOSB President, makes the team's presentation. Well, I didn't realise Mr. Zanardi was here. Double Paralympic gold winner. Great to see him here and making the presentation to Jamie Green.
Absolute legend, that man, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we were just looking at the replay of that pit stop, and there you can see that is the effectively the hub that holds that on.
Yeah.
And we could see from the replay of the pit stop there.
I wonder what caused that.
Okay, Robert Wickens, the winner, undisputed, and he's with Verena Reid now.
Yeah, Robert, you certainly did a flawless race, a fantastic job. You kept your calm, and congratulations.
No, thank you. I mean, it's a full team effort. You know, luckily, I got away to a good start after the safety car start, and yeah, just put in some nice consistent laps. My team was giving me great information, letting me know how hard I had to drive, and because I knew maybe I had to go a long time on the wet, and yeah, so I was trying to manage my tire the best I could, and luckily Jamie was pushing me pretty hard, so I was trying to keep the gap to him, and yeah, I mean, to be honest, a flawless effort. I can't thank the team enough. The whole weekend, going into the race, I wasn't expecting to be this competitive, given how our season's been so far. So I'm yeah, just delighted, and to be honest, I'm a bit speechless. So I'm definitely going to celebrate it tonight and focus on Moscow after that.
I bet. Congratulations, really. Thank you so much, Robert. And now let's grab Jamie. Jamie, congratulations. You were at him like a pit bull. I mean, you were fighting so hard. Yet, P2, not your 5th victory, but 2nd place. You've got to be happy.
Yeah, it was a strange race because I had a small incident with my mate Paul Di Resta before the race even started, which was a big disaster, and I got a penalty for that. But I think I came off quite lightly with that penalty because it wasn't a drive-through. But you know, I kept fighting and I had the pace to catch Robert up. But then when the track started to dry out, I struggled a bit, to be honest. And then with the penalty, obviously I dropped back. But I'm happy with 2nd, considering the action that happened throughout the race.
Thank you so much, Jamie. And back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Verena. Knew you'd get him in the end. Robert Wickens, isn't it lovely to hear a racing driver just be so you know, he wanted that victory shared by his team as well, who, as he said, gave him great information throughout the race. And it is a team effort, isn't it? But it's great that he recognises and wants to applaud his engineers and his team as well.
Yeah, as Jamie Green says, not the 5th win here, but very happy with that. It's been a while since he's been on the podium, and with the penalty that he got, because he dropped to 3rd, but then when we had the late retirement for Christian Bitteres, he got that 2nd place back.
Yes. Okay, so some great images that we're able to show you here of Robert Wickens on his way to the podium, and there he was, just jumping out of the car and utterly delighted with that performance. A race that was, well, affected by very, very heavy rain before the race started. Then it eased off and, well, just sort of consistently drizzled, didn't it, for perhaps the first half of the race. But the first man to take the gamble to go onto those slick tyres was Bruno Spengler, who finished just out of the points.
Yeah, he dropped to 11th in the end, and yeah, maybe went just a few minutes too early with that gamble, but you can understand why he went for it. The others watched his progress and then made their move.
Robert being congratulated there by Ralph Glazer from Mercedes-Benz. Another fantastic shot of this, well, awesome circuit, and I really do think it is an incredible place, the Norisring circuit. Just 2.3 kilometres, but boy, doesn't that 2.3 kilometres deliver some action, Chris?
It does, yeah. Yeah, it is a unique place, this. It's just something special about street circuits. I don't think you want to go to them as a racing driver all the time,
no.
But on the calendar is something different. It really mixes up the results, and it's certainly given us some great racing over the years. Some great overtaking as well. The weather's always something to behold here at the Norisring as well. That mixes things up again. So once again, this start to the 2014 season has been very lively and is becoming even more predictable, it seems, than the 2013 season.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. Shot there of the Jamie Green Audi. Taking P2 here at the Norisring. He's going to still keep his mantle, isn't he? The King of Norisring, I think.
Yep.
Through until next year. So Jamie Green, P2. Matthias Ekstrom, of course, P3.
So I'll get some success ballast added to the car now. in terms of Mercedes and Robert Wickens, something they haven't really had to deal with too much this season. And that will be something else for them to worry about when we get to Moscow, but they won't think about that too much now. They'll just enjoy this weekend. Seems to like short tracks, doesn't he? Because he got on the podium at Brands Hatch as well, Robert Wickens. Just kind of suit his style. But he has driven well this year. He went on the attack, didn't he, at Hockenheim when he went on a different strategy to some of those, starting from the back. Really did attack. It didn't really work out for him in the end, but he's been one of the stars from Mercedes so far this year.
The Mercedes flags being flown high and proud there as the podium celebrations were underway here at the Norisring. So, as you said, Chris, it's Moscow up next for the DTM season 2014. And they're just about getting the entire circuit into that one heli shot, because it is just a 2.3 kilometre circuit here at Norisring. The lake just to the in the middle of the picture there, and the Grundigstadion to the left-hand side of the picture.
And this place all about precision and accuracy, isn't it? It's a fantastic venue here. A fantastic race from DTM. Disappointment, of course, for some, for Vitorus, for Gary Paffett as well, who only finished down in 12th place in the end. Bruno Spengler as well, three-time winner here, out of the points, down in 11th place, and Paul Di Resta finished 15th in that race in the end, having started on the front row of the grid. So it's not been a particularly happy return to DTM for the 09 champion so far this season. But still a long way to go. Had 4 rounds, we've got 6 events still to come, of course, with Moscow next in a month's time. Then we go to Austria at the start of August, the Red Bull Ring at Spielberg, then the Nürburgring a couple of weeks after that in September, to the Lausitzring, to China then at the end of September, and back at Hockenheim the 3rd weekend of October, back where we started to round out the 2014 DTM season. We've already had now 3 different winners from the 4 races, many different drivers on the podium, and successes and highs and lows for all of the 3 different manufacturers that now take part in DTM, for Audi, for Mercedes and for BMW. Probably the worst weekend of the season so far for BMW, but I'm sure they will come back strong. Didn't have a great event here last year either, with the best driver being in 6th place, which was Bruno Spengler 12 months ago, and not quite as good this year, with the 7th place being their highest car, that being the championship leader Marco Wittmann. But damage limitation, decent effort by Marco to pick up some points and to keep a fairly healthy 17-point lead in the championship. Edo Mortara with a great drive through to 4th, moving up to 2nd place in the standings now.
Press conference on the way then, and it'll be a very, very interesting press conference to hear what Robert Wickens has got to say. Hopefully he was saying to Verena that he's almost speechless. Suspect when we get to the press conference he won't be.
Nice to see a racing driver not taking things for granted and enjoying the moment. Here's some highlights.
Ich kämpf gegen die Zeit und du bist das Ziel. Ich kämpf gegen mich und ich kämpfe um dich. Will alles riskieren, egal was passiert. Du kämpfst gegen mich und ich kämpfe um dich.